We've got a few people on now, so I think we'll just make some brief introductions and hopefully we'll get joined by a few more. So thank you everyone for joining us. This is our first workshop with Hadron Group. So just a brief introduction. My name's Neil. I am the marketing manager here at Hadron. For those of you who aren't aware, we're a relatively young business and we manufacture cleaner solutions that provide much less environmental impact than most others. We use the only cleaner solution currently that doesn't require hazardous labelling on the bottles. It's called Hadron Green, and it outperforms a lot of other abrasive solutions like alcohol and some chlorine. But I say it's a lot more better for the environment, and we care about the environment. That's a really important thing for us as a business. We offset our own carbon with our partner Ecology, and we care about you as a business. We believe that our priority is to stakeholders, not shareholders. And we do our sort of duty, and as part of that duty to the wider public, we are putting on a series of webinars, and this is our first one, so we're all very, very excited. Educational, so it's not a sales pitch, even though I do have some wonderful Hadron wipes here, but so we won't go into too much detail about those. It is purely educational. We want you to take something away and have a little bit of fun. It's the first one. We are really excited, and I'm even more excited to introduce
I haven't signed up for this.
Yeah, I introduce our very special guest, Richard. So it's fair to say that most people probably know you, Richard, from your work on Filthy House SOS, but you've been a business owner for well over a decade now. You're a strong advocate for mental health and also your charity work, but I'll let you tell them more about that.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. It's a bizarre sort of light. I do apologise for that. It's not a halo for anyone who's asking. But yeah, so my name's Richard. I own a cleaning company and I've owned that for 11 years. It's called Poppies and it's based on the Wirral. I also, yes, I'm a TV presenter on the hit Channel 5 show called Filthy House SOS. I also do some BBC work, so you might have seen me on Morning Live. I did a CBeebies segment on Saturday, which was completely different to what I've ever done before. It was live, so it was good fun. But yeah, so I mean, how did I get into cleaning? So I bought Poppies 11 years ago, and I was in sales. I always felt that I could run a business. I could certainly grow a business because I was good at sales. I'd done some management at McDonald's. I was a restaurant manager for McDonald's. And I was kind of at the stage of my life, what would I be? I'd be about sort of 34 years old. We had our first child on the way. I suffer from OCD, so I know how to clean, but I didn't know what sort of business to get. So Poppies came on the market. It was a guy who'd owned it since 1991, and I jumped. I went for it. We bought, in the same month I bought a house, and 6 months later our first daughter was born. So I don't do things by halves. But then since I've started, we've really turned the business around. It was quite old fashioned when I took it over. There was no real systems in place. And I generated a bespoke training method, which is a secret. I do give you a little bit of a hint later on of how to clean a room, and it's how we train our staff, and they're all trained to the same standard, and it makes cleaning fun, it makes it easy, and it makes it to a really high standard. And I really believe in offering value. We are a company that really promotes our staff, but our business, and we want to look after our customers, and this was something we wanted to work on, and as a result the business has grown steadily. I've aged dramatically with the stress, but you know, it's been really good fun. In terms of my OCD, it is an absolute nightmare for me. I live with it every day. It causes me immense stress and anxiety. I drive my family crazy. I probably drive myself crazy as well along the way. But the things that happen to me is I cannot relax. So every day I'm going around my home, cleaning, tidying, organising. It really wears me down. I've created a bit of a system for myself where I'm able to clean on a daily basis. it's not perfect, but it's enough for me to sort of relax every day. Without that, I wouldn't be able to relax. And one big thing for me is I created a bit of a system of how to clean a home in 10 minutes, because everybody knows if they're going to come around to our house, they have to call. I'm coming, and I'm able to I'm able to get the house clean in that time. But it's really bizarre. Even when people are here, even if we have a party, I'm going around them cleaning with the brush, going, "Are you okay?"
Nibbles in one hand, clean and brush in the other.
Yeah, the drinks and then the Hoover. So at the moment, my current projects are I'm working on Filthy House SOS, which takes up a lot of my time. I do a segment on BBC Morning Live from time to time and other BBC work. I'm also growing my social media, so I'm looking to have an affiliate sort of marketing site that's linked to Amazon, be able to do some sponsored posts and work with other companies. And something that is really dear to my heart is I currently work closely with a charity called the Whitechapel Centre, which is a homeless charity based in Liverpool. I'm from Formby. I'm about sort of 10-15 miles from Liverpool city centre. And this is a charity like no other. It looks after families with children who, through no fault of their own, have lost their home. So we do a little bit for them. I've done some charity stuff. I donate clothes. It's all sort of stuff that I feature on my Instagram. And that's me.
Oh, fantastic. Well, when we send feedback out and emails, follow-ups and stuff, we'll make sure we put a link to the charity so people can learn a little bit more if they want to. That's great. Yeah. So into the Q&A first off, I wanted to ask you, Richard, was I'm sure everyone else will want to know as well. Is there a methodology? You mentioned you had a few tips and tricks and stuff. Is there a methodology behind approaching a clean? I mean, I know personally I felt overfaced, especially over lockdown. You know, you get a little bit lazy, a few days go by, well, maybe a few weeks will go by, and you look around, you just think, oh, exasperated, just like, where do I start? How do I crack on? You know, how do we approach it? What's the best way?
Get a cleaning company like ours.
Poppies of Wirral.
Yeah.
That's the one,
yeah. I mean, cleaning is really complex. It's multi-layered, and I know it sounds really strange, but not a lot of people know how to clean, and people do get overwhelmed very quickly. I've certainly been in that situation myself. In my experience, both with Filthy House SOS and with my own cleaning company, people tend to have a lot of clutter. Clutter is the real secret in terms of it stops you from cleaning your home. So before you clean anything, you need to declutter or organize. And people say to me, well, you know, how do you declutter? Well, there is a little tip that you, in order to sort of declutter. And basically, when you go into a room and you want to empty it out, I'm not saying you've got a lot of stuff, but when you work through the stuff, it's to sort of pick those items up one by one, almost creating a bit of a conveyor belt of stuff to the left that you want to work through, stuff to the right, which is set into piles. Now, those piles would be to keep, to sort of give to charity, or to sell. And as you work through those items, when you hold it, if you're looking at it for more than 3 seconds, you're not sure which pile it goes in, then the reality is that you probably don't need that item. So that would go into the item, you know, either sell or get rid or whatever it would be. And then the next thing after that is that, you know, if you haven't used it for 6 months, clothing aside, because you have seasonal clothing, and of course you might not use clothes for 6 months because of the change in the seasons, then again, you don't really need it. So firstly, you declutter, and that's your tip to declutter. Secondly, and this is a real top secret tip, really, I know it's obvious, but you keep your surfaces clear. You know, having clean lines means it's easy to clean. It doesn't become a big job. And when it becomes a big job, you shy away from that job. So once you've decluttered, you've got clear surfaces. Now I need to clean a room. I mean, I told you it was multi-layered, this thing.
It's like you want one job, but you think you're going to clean, but no, actually you've got to declutter, you've got to resurfaces. It's, you're a project manager.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been promoted there. Thank you, Neil. So this is how we train our staff to clean a room in someone's home or their house. Okay, so you work room by room. Bear with me on this one. Okay, so I've got a door behind me. So when you come into that room, you start from one side of that door and you look facing the wall. And your movements are feet from side to side. So you're slowly working your way around the circumference of this particular room. When you're looking at the wall that's in front of you, I'm sure it's a game show host thing, this, but top, middle, and bottom, you would look at the top surfaces to start off with, and you'd have your cleaning products that reflect what surfaces you're going to clean. So, for example, you might have a high-level duster. So you'd clean the top corner surfaces or ceiling surfaces for cobwebs. Then you wipe the surfaces down as you work your way down the wall, and you come to say sort of waist-high surfaces, so like kitchen worktops, dining room tables, coffee tables, all that sort of stuff. You wipe those clean and then work your way down to the skirting board. Now, skirting board, if they're heavily soiled, then you would probably want to hoover them down before you wipe them. And I'm going to come back to those skirting boards in a minute. So you're just going to work your way around the room. You're going to get to the other side of that door. Now you've got your hoover in place. So you do exactly the same thing with the skirting boards and just work your way around. Now this is such a good system because you're not missing anything and it is relatively quick to do once you get the hang of it. So once you've hoovered down your skirting boards, you're back at the other door frame and you're now stood in that door frame. Go into the middle of the room, do everything that you've missed, and then come back out again. And the last thing you do is you glance at the room, working the eye line in which you've cleaned it. So all the way around the circumference, I'm happy with that. And now into the middle and done. And then close the door.
Okay, room done.
Yeah. It can be a little bit of a technique to get used to, but trust me, it's the easiest way to get from point A to point B, which is cleaning your room, and it's less stressful.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
And in terms, oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say that's all great. And I was going to sort of move on and into we had a conversation today about restrictions lifting and July 19th and all that kind of stuff. So July 19th, as most you know, restrictions are going to be lifted. That's next week, isn't it? Yeah. So that's coupled with schools breaking up, friends, families thinking about taking summer breaks. A lot of people still on waiting lists for vaccines. Let's be honest, it's quite a worrying time. Any advice for people looking to take breaks and potentially some holidays and approaching that really?
Yeah, I mean it's really worrying, isn't it? Obviously things start to open up and then we start to go out into the big bad world again. And people are worried. I mean, we're going on holiday a week on Saturday. We're going to Cornwall. So these are the things that we're going to be operating. Thank you. We're going to be operating ourselves. Some of the things you already know about, but just bear with me as we go through it. So, I mean, importantly, if you can, and you want to be double vaccinated, I mean, that's really, really important. But when you're out and about, making sure that you are washing your hands regularly, as we all have been, making sure we've got soap, we clean it for 20 seconds, and then we dry those down. Try and do that as often as you can. Making sure that obviously your hands are dry, and if you are touching your face or any areas, that you wash your hands again. If you haven't got soap, then use a 60% alcohol-based hand sanitizer. And then after that, what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be taking our disinfectant wipes. We're actually taking the Hadron wipes with us.
Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. And now the thing is about this is really handy. So there they go. I've got some in the back behind me. So when we go to our hotel, it's just really simple, not being over the top, but just cleaning down your door handles, any of the surfaces that you've got. And conversely, if you're going out and about, so I'm going to be using these in my car. My kids are going to be in every surface. You can imagine what kids are like on holiday. They're going to be having ice cream. They're going to have sticky hands. They're going to be dirty. So we'll be using those wipes as much as we can. They're really handy. The packaging is so big, so you can keep it in your car. If anyone is lucky enough to be going abroad, good luck to you.
Liquids
We're
on
not
planes
jealous. We're not jealous. But again, taking those wipes. Now, I'm not too sure on whether you're allowed to take wipes through in terms of, so you might have to buy them on the other side once you get through. But again, it's very similar, wiping down your seat. I'm sure these things are being done anyway, but it's worth just peace of mind, is wiping down your seat and all the surfaces that you might touch. And again, if you go into the toilet, just wiping down those handles. We don't know what the guidelines are going to be at this moment in time, but my advice, and certainly what we're going to be doing, is where you can wear your mask. I know the things are changing, but that was in the news yesterday about being proactive in that sense and just using your own initiative. And then just trying to avoid crowds as much as you can. I know it's difficult, but try to avoid crowds as much as you can. And if you do, then, just sanitize. But I think the message from my perspective is not get too hyper about it. Just have your own sort of method and make it as simple as possible. It just becomes a normal routine.
Okay, brilliant. One thing that I did fail to ask at the start of this webinar, by the way, was that if people do have questions for Richard or myself, then you can actually just pop them in and they'll pop up on the screen. Someone's done one already. Okay. So I thought it's worth bringing up because it's quite humorous. So are you familiar with the 5-second rule? So the 5-second rule, basically, if you drop a bit of food on the floor, is it okay to eat? So someone's written here, the 5-second rule, is it a myth? Does it exist?
Right, okay. So the important thing about our digestion system is that, it's good to have bacteria in it. So to a point, yes, it's whether it's been on the floor for a couple of seconds. I mean, I wouldn't bother too much, maybe blow it off a little bit. Depends how dirty your floor is.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
While it's still hot, you can still use it, sort of thing. But, again, it's, all bacteria can be good for, us. So it's not getting too excited about it. I wouldn't bother too much about a 5-second rule. Pick it up and blow it off.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I was just thinking of some of the houses because I've been watching obviously a couple of the episodes online. I'm just thinking of if any food had touched any of those floors on Filthy House, I think it'd be out the window rather than in my mouth.
I mean, we do on the show a bacteria swab test, and it's measured in relative light units. Anything over 60 is a fail. Okay. Now it doesn't differentiate between good and bad bacteria. So within this reading, it's a combination. We've had readings off people's worktops where they prepare food, 14,000 plus. So,
60 and it's 14,000.
At 60, and we've had 14. We've had 20,000. We've had the machine sort of steaming,
smoke coming up the top.
eject. So again, just depends on where you are. If you're at home and you're comfortable with your own home, then of course things have dropped on the floor, you should be okay. But you just need to be very careful.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Excellent. Right, we've got a few more questions, but I'll move on to the next one before we get on to them. So in terms of working from home, one of the big changes over the pandemic is working from home has become a norm for a lot of people. So it's been a massive shift. And I know personally I've suffered with productivity. So if I'm working really hard, then I've noticed my home life has suffered in terms of cleaning and cleansing. And then there's been the odd days where it's like, oh, I'm working in a bit of a mess and it's tidy up. And then, I feel guilty because, I've got work to be doing and getting that balance and that shift and, and Mr. Busy, Missy OCD, how have you gone about it? Any tips and advice for anyone out there? Because a lot of people are still working from home and, will be going into the future.
Yeah, I mean, life, you are completely right, Neil. Life has changed considerably. I mean, I don't have the benefit of an office. This is my kitchen that I'm working in. It's just a breakfast bar and it's really stressful. I mean, I'm part of that. I've had to work from home. Do I enjoy it? Yes, but no at the same time because my productivity's dipped. I find organization really difficult. And then I just look at my desk and it's a complete mess. And then I've got to pack it all away and I've got to then prepare food. So really difficult. And my advice to anybody, and it's certainly something that I've done, is if you're not fortunate to have an office space and you are working for dining room table, your lap, or a breakfast bar, in my case, is to have a system. And the system for me is make sure it's the same spot that you work in each day. Set it up as much as you can as it would be a mirror image of your office. Try to keep it organized, so make sure that space is big enough in which to work from. When you pack all your stuff up at the end of the day, I think it's important that you do pack it up, because as you said there, Neil, work and home, these two things are connecting, and they don't get along, believe it or not. They're not happy. You know, work wants its space and home wants its space, and what happens inside is it creates a lot of anxiety and stress, and that's something we've got to try and avoid. So pack everything away. If you are working on a dining room table or on your lap. Try not to work on your lap, but if you are,
if there's no other space,
if there's no other space, then work on your lap. Just don't be watching TV unless it's filthy House SOS. Yeah. Clear out a cupboard before you do this. So I've got a cupboard just down to the bottom of me. It was where we stored all our plastic bags and George Foreman and all that sort of business. Other grills available. Yeah. And I put everything back into there. But before I do that, I pack it up so it's really neat. And it's almost as if when I come back to that section and I'm taking it out of the cupboard, it's back as I've lifted it up. So it becomes as organized as it was. It's as I finish. So you can almost pick up where you left off the day before. Other little things not regarding sort of cleaning and organizing yourself is just try to keep your routine the same. So if you exercise before or after work, try to do that, and try to speak to your colleagues. So, you know, FaceTiming, having those regular breaks as you normally would do. It's really important to stay in touch with your work colleagues. In particular, if you can FaceTime, it makes all the difference. It's that connection. We all need that human connection. And you know what? Most of the time, we all know what it's like. We probably moan about work. Oh, I've got this and I've got that. You know, it's not, these are important facets of your working life. And if you don't get it off your chest and you don't problem solve with people, then you internalize it, and you can quite easily become quite stressed, anxious, and then your productivity drops. So they're my tips.
I would just like to caveat that with, just in case anyone from Hadron is joined us. I absolutely adore all my colleagues and have no complaints whatsoever. Fantastic, wonderful. They're all great. I interrupted you earlier when we were talking about cleaning and disinfecting the home, because one thing that I did want to ask before we moved on actually was regarding sort of cleaning and disinfecting and the difference between the two. I know we moved on to talk about COVID and sort of the virus and bacteria and all that sort of good stuff. One thing I was guilty of, certainly before during the Hadron, was spraying the surface down, giving it a wipe. It's clean, it's soiled, it's all gone. Great, jobs are good. But that's not really the case, is it?
Not necessarily. It depends on what sort of products you're using. I do have the benefit of being able to swab surfaces before and after, so you can use. I know what products to sort of use. But in terms of our business, and this is the A star really, is that we modified our cleaning approach. So you are absolutely right. We now have a two-stage cleaning method. So previously, where we would just sort of wipe down the surfaces with whatever products that you want to use, that would be enough. We'd buff up those surfaces, make them nice and shiny, and we'd go about our own business. But now what we do is we wipe down those surfaces as we normally would do. But the second part, which we've introduced, is we actually use a disinfectant spray. So then we spray them down and we wipe down those surfaces and buff them up. The reality is that you are probably in the first phase getting rid of things, but you are sealing it completely by adding that extra layer in. And that's something to bear with, really, in terms of where we are in terms of the spread of this virus. And we have to be really, really careful about, where we're at. I mean, I hear all sorts of stories on the street customers that phone me, I mean, they're delighted with what we're doing because it is extra safe for the customers. But I hear that, you know, people are going shopping and they're coming back and they're disinfecting and spraying everything or taking out the packaging. There are so many things that you can do, but I think it's just be settled with what you want to do and just keep on doing that. And as long as you've got those in place, you should be okay. We have a very simple process here in our home. It tends to work.
Okay, great stuff. Thank you very much. We've got another question come through, which could be aimed at me, really. So this would be good if you could have some tips. And it's tips regarding laundry, organising clothes, you know, getting through the, you know, is there a process? I mean, I know in our house, to be honest, it's a case of goes in the washing machine, goes to the washing basket. A week later, it may end up in a wardrobe. It may get ironed and worn that day. Any methodologies for that?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I am in a household with 2 children. But the machine is constantly on. I think you can probably hear it in the background. And it's a real nuisance of a job, isn't it? It's something you have to do all the time. So there are some steps that are put in place. And again, with all of this, it's multi-layered and it all reverts back to organization and methodology. So the first real point is that where you store your clothes, it could be a wardrobe, drawers, or if you've got a dressing room, then, you know, make sure that's organized. Make sure that's set into its you know, areas. So jeans together, trousers together, shirts together, t-shirts together, all folded. There's certain ways in which you can fold. I have done some tips on my Instagram. So if you would like to go and check out how to fold something so it keeps it obviously neat, but also it doesn't get creased and you can maximize your space. So categorize everything, put it into place in its wardrobe. Then obviously when you're washing stuff, try to, you know, hang it out as straight as you can do. I tend to avoid sort of putting it into the dryer if I can do. And then when it comes back upstairs, we always fold it on our bed. That's our routine. So the basket comes upstairs. Try not to let the washing pile up over a week's worth because then it becomes a chore. Do a basket at a time, fold it into how you want to fold it, and then put it into the segments that are relevant to you in your wardrobe. Great thing for you is that life is busy, life is rushed. You know exactly where to get things and where they are, and you just pick it out, and it makes your day a little bit quicker.
Fantastic, brilliant. Right, we'll come up to our half hour, but we've got one more, which I'm going one more question, which I'm going to throw in because it is really relevant to me, and if I can bring this home to my better half, Jenny, then she'll be really, really happy. So we've got 3 cats and a dog, and someone just asked the question, what tips would you have to keep floor and general house clean with pets and a garden? So any sort of products or any tips apart from brushing the dog regularly and that kind of thing, get rid of hair? Any pet tips?
don't get pets. No, I'm only joking.
Don't get pets.
Okay. There are a few things that you can do. What if you've got upholstery and carpet, it can be a nuisance. The fur is really fine, so it gets entwined in the fibers of your upholstery, whether that be your carpet and obviously your sofa and stuff. So I always use a silicone brush. You need something that's a silicone base. There are some gloves that you can buy, which are really handy, that you can wipe down, almost like gardening gloves, but you just need to check in the label it's a silicone base rubber. And what happens there, it creates a static, and it actually the fur is, as you rub it down with either brush or your glove, it is attracted to the silicone, so it releases it from the fiber of the material and it sticks to the glove or the brush. If you just use a Hoover, good luck. You'll be hoovering all day. I'll give you a very interesting fact about hoovering very quickly.
Okay.
Is that if you hoover for 1 hour, it is the equivalent of doing a 30-minute cardio session in the gym.
Wow.
There you go. But yeah, so
Fantastic.
that's what I would do in terms of carpets and upholstery. It clumps all together, and then just pick it up and put it into the bin. Don't put it through your Hoover because it will damage the filter. And then secondly, if you've got a hard surface, it's just a brush. It's the same process. It doesn't have to be a silicone brush. Just brush it up, get it into the center, pick it up, pop it into the bin.
Job's a good one. Fantastic. All right. Well, I don't know if you can hear the chimes. There's actually a clock just to my right. We've got a grandfather clock, and it's gone for 10. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. It's been a genuine pleasure. I know we've chatted a little bit before, but that's been really good. And hopefully we've had a few thank yous on the chat. So hopefully people enjoyed it. Yeah, Richard, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Keep busy.
Enjoy cleaning, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Brilliant. We'll speak again, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. See you later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.